Welcome back to the channel and welcome to episode 45. Today we're going to take a look at an appliance that's going to make couples happier by making one of the more tedious tasks easier and faster.
Come again? I think I'm going to need a little bit more information about this before I comment further.
No problem, Keith. So today we're going to review the GE Profile dishwasher model PDT785SBNTS. The unit we got is in the black stainless steel to match the other appliances in our kitchen.
Good. I can't tell you what a relief that is.
Yes, it's an absolutely huge relief for those who have to hand wash their dishes.
Yes, I imagine it would be. And the topic is a huge relief for me as well.
Oh, I didn't realize that you and Jen were in the market for a new dishwasher.
Oh, we're not.
I guess I'm totally confused then.
I don't get it.
Yeah, well, I guess you would be at this point.
I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it.
So, what do you say we dig in and start reviewing this dishwasher?
Yeah, that probably seems like a great direction to take things at this point.
Well, perfect. So, what is it at this point that made you decide to even get a new dishwasher?
Well, our less than 2-year-old unit, dishwasher number 4 as we like to call it, died. And so we actually had to go up and down the stairs for 9 months, carrying our dishes from the kitchen to our bar dishwasher area and vice versa. So that is a huge pain for, Cindy, myself, and the girls. When you're a family of 6, having that much back and forth is just a pain. And I guess we could have hand washed our dishes upstairs and avoided all that. But again, when you talk about the effort that goes into washing dishes for a family of 6, it's a lot. And at the end of the day, I don't think that us hand washing it is going to be, one, is effective in getting them clean and sanitized. 2, from a time perspective, just way more time to commit to that process.
Yeah, oh geez. Yeah, that's I guess in the grand scheme of things, we could call this a first world problem that you're having, right? Having to use a different dishwasher on a different level. But let's face it, in the 50s, having a dishwasher was an absolute luxury. But nowadays, it's an absolute necessity. I can't imagine not having one.
Exactly. And we generate so many dishes around here, especially over the summer when everyone is in the house.
Wow, this is all amazing. I mean, we've lived in our house for 16 years, and we're on our 2nd dishwasher. Did I hear you correctly that this unit replaced your 4th dishwasher, so therefore this is your 5th?
That is correct. So when we built the house in 2000, we installed a GE. That dishwasher lasted around 7 years, between 7 and 8. And then since then, we've had to replace that dishwasher with some Maytags, and then most recently we had a Samsung. So none of the units obviously lasted more than a few years after that first one.
Yeah, that really makes you think of the old phrase, they don't build them like they used to.
It does. So my parents have had the same dishwasher for the entire time we've been making all of these dishwasher changes. So that gives you an idea of how things are made differently these days. I've talked to appliance repair people because we've had plenty of opportunities to see them over the years now, and really they've told me there's a certain planned obsolescence, and that we really shouldn't be trying to get more than about 5 to 7 years out of any one of these appliances. That's a win.
That sucks. We better review this thing right now before it breaks too, and we have to replace it.
That's a great idea, Keith. You never know. So we were looking for a unit that cleans well. And to be honest, not all of the dishwashers we've replaced have died. The one that we got before the Samsung, the Maytag, it just never did a very good job of cleaning. And so we finally got to the point where we were fed up with that and decided to go out and get a new dishwasher. And that's when we, went to the appliance store and we saw this, fantastic marketing around this, wall of water, and that was going to clean our dishes. And it just, honestly, it was just a fantastic marketing plan around that.
Wow. This wall of water, it does sound fantastic. So I'll have to ask, did it work fantastically?
Well, let's just say that sometimes you have great marketing for great products, and other times you just have great marketing.
Okay, I got you. Let's just get right down to it, and let's talk about this GE. Why you bought it, and did it do a good job or not? Let's be specific.
Yeah, let's do this. So back when we were looking at the Samsung, we actually had found another GE very similar to the model that we purchased that had a feature that I really liked, and that was the sprayers below the entire silverware basket, and that just appealed to me. But two things kind of, took us the direction of the Samsung. First, we had other Samsung appliances in that black stainless steel, and so this would match. And then the wall of water.
Okay, good. So what were some of those key reasons, or what are the key features that you were after?
So going back to the GE, I did like that silverware sprayer, and we were super close to pulling the trigger on the GE over the Samsung, but we didn't. And so anyway, when the Samsung died in a most unglorious fashion, and it was unglorious, we went back to the appliance store and, really got down to a couple of different models, and the GE just had, again, I kind of go back to that original buying decision of the Samsung over the GE. Maybe I should have pulled the trigger back then on the GE. It's hard to say. But this time around, we did select the GE for several reasons. I'm going to put up on the screen the main items that we were looking for and the check boxes that had to be checked. So this time around, we wanted a real door handle. The last few dishwashers we've had have had recessed ones that have really proved hard for some of our family to open. Now, maybe as our kids have gotten older, that wouldn't be a big issue, but on the Samsung, they really did struggle to open that dishwasher. Now, maybe that was just an excuse to not have to unload it, I'm not sure, but they struggled. Next, we wanted a utensil third rack. So some dishwashers now, they are putting a rack above your second one, and you can put utensils. Some of them even put in notches to put silverware or overflow silverware. So it's just really kind of a good utility area. We wanted excellent cleaning performance. We were also looking for a unit that had the controls on the top of the door, right? So we'd had several that had them on the front. We just had kind of grown accustomed to the aesthetic of those controls being out of the way at the top of the door instead of on the face. Very quiet operation since our kitchen is open to our family room, and that's where, if we're going to watch TV, that's typically where we are watching it. And we talk in the kitchen a lot. As well, we wanted the black stainless steel finish to match our other appliances. And then lastly, we wanted some options around what cycles we were going to use. We do a lot of the standard cycle, but every once in a while, we have some dishes that maybe just need a quick wash, and we wanted one that would give us that faster wash time along with some other settings. If we had some super dirty ones, we wanted to be able to get those with a special cycle as well.
Yeah, that seems pretty fair to me. As far as checklists go, I don't see anything over the top there. It seems fairly more or less standard. Let's go down the list and see how we did on each of those checklist items.
So the real door handle. This is pretty simple, right, and self-explanatory. This unit does have a real handle, sturdy, easy to grab. So, yep, found a unit that had that in place. This dishwasher does have a sliding third rack. The only bad thing about it is I wish there was maybe a bit more clearance on it, but it's there. You just have to watch, which utensils you put on that rack. Some of them just aren't going to fit because it's not got the clearance you would need. Good cleaning performance. I think this dishwasher does a very good job with standard dry detergent. I think it does a fantastic job with the Cascade Platinum pods. Now, this isn't a sponsored video by them. We're not getting paid to say that, but our experience in switching from the dry, the granular detergent to the pods has been great. And really the only thing that prompted it was the dishwasher came with some pod samples. And so we went ahead and tried them, and really we're pretty impressed with the performance we got. So we made the change over to the pods. That might be something that, you keep an eye on in your own dishwasher, right? That, if they've got a recommendation around that, might mean that, you want to look at making that change. So sometimes getting the best result from a tool means complementing it with other good tools around it. The top controls, again, pretty easy check mark, right? All of them are recessed on the top, but still accessible even when the door is closed. Quiet operation. Since our kitchen is open to the family room, this was a huge check mark. And quite honestly, this is by far the quietest dishwasher we've ever owned. And it's not even close. The stated rating is 39 decibels. The black stainless steel finish to match our other appliances, pretty simple check mark, and actually it's pretty amazing how closely it matches the other appliances we have, the Samsung brand. We're lucky because there really is no standard around black stainless steel. There's a few different interpretations of that, so we're lucky that GE and Samsung tend to align fairly well on that front. And then cycle options, again, check. There are enough options, I think, to meet most people's needs and certainly to meet ours.
Yeah, that's impressive. So the decibel rating, I can't let that go because I'm an NVH nerd. It's interesting that it's dBA, right? It's a A-weighted decibel rating, which is a kind of a cheat because what that does is it suppresses the magnitudes or suppresses the level of the sound pressure levels on either side of 2,000 hertz. Above it and below it. So is it really 39 or is it something higher? I think that's a fair way to cheat though, and I think all manufacturers do it, use A weighting, because A weighting is what your human ear does as well. We amplify at 2,000 hertz and we suppress above and below that, the ear does. So it's a normal thing to do, so I'm buying that. Your real world experience definitely confirms that it's awesome, and that's what's really most important. And so let's talk about the things you didn't like, or maybe the things that you would improve upon.
Well, I've already touched on the third rack, but if all be told to make that maybe perfect for our usage would be like another 1/2 inch to 1 inch of clearance, right? So it wouldn't take much. A 1/2 inch would probably make all the difference in the world in terms of getting some of the utensils up there. But we work around it, so if we need to, we just drop the utensils into the main wash area and put the flatter things up on that third rack. So it's still helpful having the third rack there. Next, I really don't care for where they intend you to install or load the bowls at. It's probably, it's next to a ridge, and there is, piping that runs on, below that ridge, and I think it, creates some clearance down below. But in the process, they have just kind of an angled area, and it's probably a little bit wide, at least for our bowls. So for a standard, cereal bowl or something, or dessert bowl, it just doesn't fit particularly well. We work around that, but ideally maybe it would be designed just a little bit differently to accommodate bowls. I think that most people use a little bit better. I've seen other reviews online that mention kind of that same thing. So it's not a huge item, but just a small gripe. Another thing that's kind of challenging is if you are a wine drinker and you want to put your wine glasses into the dishwasher, there's not necessarily a great spot to put them. It doesn't have any kind of fold down, keeper for the stem or anything like that. So it is not a dishwasher that is super well suited to do wine glasses. And so if wine's a big deal to you and you want that in the dishwasher, this may not be the exact unit for you. For us, we have wine a couple times a year, right? And it's probably more of our guests that would drink it than us. So we kind of work around that. As a matter of fact, truth be told, I bring our wine glasses down to that dishwasher we've been using, or did use when we had no dishwasher on our main level. I just wash the dishes down there, those wine glasses, because it's actually close to where our wine rack is as well. And then lastly, when the dishwasher door is open, it has a tendency, if you're close, or maybe we're actually bumping into it, but I swear there's times where it just turns on its own and no one bumped it. It's almost like there's a proximity sensor, or just the door being open is one of those things that makes it turn on. But it'll just kind of seemingly at random or whatever fire up, and it's not a huge deal. It's just one of those things that, as an engineer, I'm like, why did you do that? Why are you turning on? I didn't tell you to turn on. No one's asking you to do anything right now, so why don't you just stay turned off?
Yeah, and that's fair. And we've talked about this before. When you say the dishwasher turns on when the door is open, you don't mean that it's starting an actual wash cycle and it's pumping water into it or anything. It's just that the controls are turning on, and that's a bit off-putting. And I think your complaints are reasonable, and frankly, I think a lot of people wouldn't have the same concerns or care about exactly the same things that you would in terms of what you like and don't like anyway.
Exactly. So one feature we haven't talked about yet that I actually think is super cool, I really have not seen on other dishwashers before, is it actually has 4 of the tines are actually hollowed out and they have sprayers embedded in them. So they also have a hook to keep the glass or the bottle, whatever you're putting on there, kept down. So they call it the bottle sprayer. And bottle is really kind of anything you want to refer to it as. It could be a sports water bottle, could be a baby bottle, and you can put standard glasses on there too. If maybe you accidentally left something in the car and it started to get something baked on, and you want to really salvage that bottle or glass, you can use those sprayers. Now, as cool as I think that functionality is and the potential there, honestly, I'm not sure we've used it other than just to test it, and it's not to say that we couldn't. The good news is we really didn't pay anything extra to have that feature. It came along with this model dishwasher, and this dishwasher had the features we wanted elsewhere. So it is a nice to have, but we haven't leveraged it maybe the way that I thought we could potentially. But also, we don't have any kids of bottle age anymore, and that might be something that someone with baby bottles, formulas and that it would happen to us all the time. You'd accidentally leave a bottle in the diaper bag and then find it a couple days later, and you're like, oh my goodness, how are we going to get this clean? So that is an additional feature it does have.
Huh. Actually, that sounds super awesome. I mean, our kids aren't using baby bottles anymore, but I think we would use that feature. That sounds awesome. And also awesome is the word tine. There's a word you don't use every day unless you're talking about forks or this topic. I'm not sure you would ever use that word otherwise. So that's awesome. Oh, and by the way, real question now. If you're just doing a standard wash cycle, what is the timing on that wash cycle?
Oh, great question, Keith. So the standard cycle shows up when you select it as 161 minutes. And that's for, all the standard zones, temperature, no special settings done, temperature boost or anything like that. Standard dry session, the whole 9 yards. So 161 minutes.
Okay, yeah, so under 3 hours. That's not horrible. That's not terrible. But what about some of the other cycles? What about a fast cycle, for example?
Yes, so you can choose some various washing cycles. I know there's a kind of the heavy duty, if you will, that's up in the over 3 hour range, as well as some lighter cycles. And so one of the things that is interesting is there's a 1 hour cycle, and that cycle does something kind of weird. It shows up is going to take 110 minutes, and so in the U.S., I don't know about anywhere else, but in the U.S., an hour is not 110 minutes. It's actually 60. So not sure if, once that cycle starts, it'll actually, drop down to that 60-minute range, or if there's it's an hour of wash cycle and then the rest is drying and everything else. So anyway, there are 5 cycles to choose from. There is auto, heavy, standard, light, and the 1 hour. Along with those cycles, you can choose that you want to do like a Santa boost to really sanitize the dishes. There's also a dry boost. You can also choose some zones. So if you want just the top or just the bottom to run, you have that option as well.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me of this. There's a Canadian comedy show that I think it's called This Hour Has 22 Minutes in it or something like that. This is like the opposite of that. I would say be careful of that sanitary cycle if you've used it before. It gets hot. Ours has the same cycle. And if you have anything plastic that is under pressure from a neighboring plate, that thing's going to get permanently deformed. That's been our experience. But anyway, any final thoughts?
Yes, so several things I want to cover here. First is this dishwasher does have a strainer in the tub. So that is something, depending on how often you wash dishes and how clean they are going in, that you'll have to at least periodically take that out and clean it out. Now the good news is you just rinse it out. It's a reusable item. It's not something that you're going to have to replace, buy a new one every month or something like that. So pretty standard, right? Most dishwashers these days do have one of those strainers that you periodically do need to clean. As well, one of the things that, I actually kind of forgot to mention in the list, and I've looked for years, and I like this feature, The heating element is actually below the tub, the surface of the tub. So you can't have, say a plastic lid, for example, fly out of the top rack, fall into the very bottom, land on the heating element, and then melt to it and make the entire kitchen stink. So I like that from a couple fronts. One, again, that example of the lid flying and landing on the heating element and causing a problem. Two, my experience has been when you have that heating element embedded below the tub, you actually can put most plastic items on that bottom rack and they're not going to melt. So along with the the sanding cycle, I know that you've mentioned before that those can sometimes cause problems with plastic regardless of where they are. This case, it actually really helps not having that heating element exposed, close to where the plastic potentially would be if you had it on the bottom rack. Some people would want maybe a cycle where it was a rinse only, right? So they just wanted to rinse some, maybe dusty dishes that were sitting in their cabinet, and the cabinet had gotten dusty because it's not something they use on a regular basis. This does not have a rinse only cycle, so you'd have to use that 1 hour cycle. Probably much longer than those dishwashers that have a rinse only would run. So just something to keep in mind on that front. From a cleaning perspective, at least with the Cascade, Platinum pods, this dishwasher probably cleans as well as any dishwasher we've ever had to this point. So from that front, we've been very, very happy with that. From a pricing perspective, this dishwasher really falls in line with the brands that are the Bosches, not necessarily the top end Bosch or some of the Whirlpool and that. It really does fall into the same price range as many of the others that have this set of features. So from a pricing perspective, probably going to expect to pay in that $1,200 to $1,300 range, depending on what's going on with supply chain right now. I will tell you that the soundproofing was an absolute pain to install. There was a couple problems. One, the diagrams showing you where the soundproofing was supposed to go were extremely hard to really get orientation about where they were saying you were supposed to put it. And then if I got that correct, and I'm not 100% sure I did, but if I got it put in the correct spot, it was very difficult to get it there. Now, once you get it there, and I did do the install myself, right? So I know exactly where I put it and what they're asking me to do. Once you get it there, you get it all sealed up. I must have been pretty close to where it was supposed to be because, again, our results are phenomenal. It is a super quiet dishwasher. You can have a conversation right next to it, and you'd have to stop your conversation, put your ear down to the dishwasher to get some hint of the fact that it's running, or when it does, flush some of the water out, it's going to run through your disposal if that's the way that you have it plumbed. That is the only time I can actually really, prominently hear that it's running is when that washer goes through, or excuse me, when the water goes through the disposal. That you can hear. An item that we hadn't talked about before, but that middle rack, so the second rack on there is adjustable, so that'll give you the ability to give clearance either to the bottom rack or the second rack, depending on where you want to load what types of dishes. So that's pretty standard, and it's a nice feature. We don't move it very often, but it does give you the flexibility of changing that height should you need to do so. In terms of the rack configuration, you can fold sets of those tines. I know you like that word. Fold those tines down and change it. So again, you can accommodate what it is that you want to wash when you want to wash it. Sometimes you can't get certain size bowls in there or something like that, or large dishes is really what I was referring to, without putting down those tines and keeping them from being in the way. We don't move those very much, but you do have the ability to fold those down on both sets of racks. And then lastly, the silverware tray. Again, we talked about the sprayers underneath. I really like that feature. Each of the partitions for that silverware tray actually does have a lid. So if you regularly wash small items, small parts for say a blender or something like that, you can put those in that basket, put the lid down, and that's going to keep them from being shot around all over the place in that wash cycle.
So you probably know my standard question at this point. Do I even need to ask?
Nope. I would definitely say we really, really like this dishwasher, and at this point, it definitely earns our Dad's Talk Tech approval. Now, we will keep an eye on it because we've owned this dishwasher for 4 months now, and we've used it at least once a day, sometimes as many as 3 times a day if we're holiday baking or something like that. But we've used it pretty well, and in those 4 months, it's held up really well. But if something happens, this dishwasher happens to die on us, we will do an update to make sure that you don't go out and buy this dishwasher only to have it, basically be the same story as me, having 5 of them in the last 20 years.
Well then, there we have it. Another review and another approved device.
Yep. And you know what? I don't mind having so many approved devices because it means we haven't wasted our hard-earned money. At this point, we get no units to review for free.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, we pretty much buy everything that we review on this channel with our own money. And, it's not like we're getting pre-release hardware from the manufacturer or something that's just hit the market and is just now available. We're not against doing that. That's not been what we've been doing. Everything we've been reviewing has been pretty much well used. In the automotive industry, you would call it a long-term review.
Speaking of reviews and tests, we're going to test if our viewers can find that like button. Since you're still watching, you should probably give this video a like.
But really, be honest, are you sure people are still watching?
Well, I couldn't have said it and had them hear it if they weren't.
Yeah, great point. After all, trees really do fall in forests. Right, Nessa? So while you're here, and you do exist, go ahead and ring the bell so that you can get notified of new content as well.
With that, I want to thank you for joining us today. And for Bruce and Keith, you'll see us on the next episode of Dads Talk Tech.